From his aggressive style that leaves fighters stunned, to his coach claiming he's the most well-rounded lightweight of all time, these are the real reasons no one can beat Islam Makhachev. The Dagestani is known for his high-intensity offense inside the octagon, and it's not a surprise that it intimidates his opponents. His power and combinations are one of the most dangerous weapons in his arsenal, and it's because of this that he can put pressure on his opponents from the very start. Whether it's a knockout punch or submission hold, it doesn't matter because he always has a plan to finish the fight, and he's not afraid to go for it. He's a fierce competitor, and his opponents know it. Some might say that Islam's a bit of a wild card, but that's just part of what makes him so dangerous. His unpredictability is extremely dangerous, because he knows how to take advantage of it, and will switch things up in a matter of seconds, keeping his opponents guessing and on edge throughout the fight.
In which there is just never any margin for error.
Oh, runs into another nice left hand.
While his enemies are confused on how to deal with him, it's hard to come up with a defense, leaving them open to his huge arsenal of attacks. But Makhachev's aggressive style doesn't always depend on power, because he's got great fight IQ as well, perfectly reading his opponents and going for the kill as soon as he sees a fault in their game. Speaking of Makhachev's style, there's one thing that has helped him a lot with it, and that's his versatility, which he displays the full range of every time he steps foot inside the octagon. And considering his experience in wrestling, judo, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it's not surprising at all how vast his moveset is. There's hardly any match for his wrestling skills in the division. After all, he's been competing in the sport since he was a kid, and it shows in his ability to control his opponents and score points. The lightweight champ's black belt in judo gives him an added dimension of grappling expertise, making him capable of takedowns other fighters may not be used to, using his throws to his advantage. But that's not all. He's also a skilled Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner, and we've seen him use his skills to their full potential, making one of the best submission specialists in UFC history, Charles Oliveira, tap out.
If Makhachev can pass the guard, he's got the arm triangle.
His wide variety of skills allows him to adapt to any situation in the octagon, making him one of the most dangerous fighters on the planet. But why is he so terrifying in the octagon? Well, it's his physical conditioning, which gives him an edge over everyone he faces in the cage. The Dagestani has a strong work ethic and is always in perfect fighting form, allowing him to go the distance in every fight. Even in the later rounds of the fight, you won't see him on the back foot or his striking get weaker, because he's just that good. He starts his day with a long run, hitting the pavement for a few miles before breaking a sweat again in the gym. The champ loves calisthenics and uses bodyweight exercises into his routine to train his movement too. And since he knows his striking still needs work, he spends time on the punching bag, practicing his combos and improving his footwork. His dedication to physical fitness extends beyond the gym as well, following an extremely strict diet plan to keep him in perfect shape. And you can see how all his hard work pays off in his success as a fighter. His opponents know they have to bring their A game if they want to even stand a chance against the guy. Even though his physical conditioning puts him above the rest of the roster, his mentality and confidence truly makes him a deadly fighter. He knows in his mind that he's the best on the planet right now, and he's not afraid to let his opponents know it too. Makhachev's famous for his trash talking, and the fact that he calls everyone out for a fight like no one's above him.
These guys always want to magnify, doesn't speak English, nobody understands you.
It's not just for show either, because he backs it up with his performances inside the octagon. Islam's confidence has served him well in his career. Yeah, he's had some tough fights, but he still comes out on top. With his intimidating aura in the cage, he doesn't let his opponents see a single crack in his game. But how does he end up dominating the majority of his matches? It's cause of his insane power. Makhachev's explosiveness is no joke, folks. Fighters know they have to be on their toes when they step into the cage with him, because one wrong move and they could be on the end of a devastating hook. There's no denying that Islam has some serious power in his punches. You wouldn't expect it from a grappler like him, but Makhachev is well versed in the art of trading fists, going toe-to-toe with deadly strikers and matching their skill. On top of that, his ability to improvise even in the heat of the moment is insane. The Dagestani isn't shy about trying new things in a fight and constantly experiments with different techniques. So his creativity in the cage gives him an edge over fighters who've only trained for the basics. Whether it's a unique submission hold or a wild striking combo, the guy always has a trick up his sleeve. One of his training partners shed some light on his improvisation, saying Makhachev's always coming out with new ways to attack and defend, which is why it's hard to anticipate what he's going to do next. But he's truly at his best on the octagon floor because of his fearsome ground game. Once the fight goes to the ground, the Dagestani's almost impossible to compete with. Makhachev has won an insane amount of fights with his submissions, making a total of 11 out of his 24 wins by making his opponents tap. But his ground game isn't fearsome just because of his submission holds. In fact, it's his overall perfection in grappling from his Dagestani style that wins him every exchange. There aren't many fighters in the world who are as good on the mat as they are on their feet, but Makhachev has the best of both worlds in his game. Of course, he has such a fearsome ground game after all. He learned from example by following in Khabib Nurmagomedov's steps. It's true that he has glimpses of the eagle in his fighting style, and that's because he trained with him for most of his life. I mean, everyone knows Khabib was an absolute beast inside the octagon, with unmatched skills and techniques, proving time and time again that there's no one better than him. So when someone like Islam, who has had to keep up with Khabib his whole life, had to go through the lightweight division, it was light work for him. While most fighters only have to fight at the highest level after reaching the higher ranks, Makhachev had years of experience already, sparring against one of the greatest fighters of all time since childhood. His fighting's improved by leaps and bounds, but not only did he make progress physically, because the Eagles also taught him the mental fortitude it takes to win a fight, which is also just as important. Makhachev's training sessions with Khabib were intense. To say the least, he pushed the fighter to his limits and beyond, which is why he's always ready for what his opponents throw at him. With only one loss on his record, even Makhachev's score appears to be as close as it can get to the Eagle. Speaking of his coaches, aka head coach, Javier Mendez said that he's the most complete lightweight fighter ever. The most interesting thing about his statement is that he also coached Khabib, so that's an extremely bold claim from Mendez. But according to him, Islam's ferocity usually gets downplayed, and only after people face him do they realize why it's a bad idea to underestimate the lightweight champ. Mendez declared on record that Islam's the best lightweight of all time in all aspects of the game, and that there's no one who can beat him anymore. Heck, Javier even revealed that the only guy who ever beat Khabib during a sparring round was Makhachev, because he's just that good. On top of that, he said that he used to think MMA legend Frank Shamrock was the best all-rounder to grace the game, but after seeing Islam, his opinion has completely changed. Now that's a huge statement coming from a guy who's been studying the sport for a long time, but that tells you just what kind of threat Makhachev really is. So there you have it, fight fans. From his coach claiming he's the most well-rounded lightweight of all time, to his aggressive style that leaves fighters stunned, these were the real reasons why no one can beat Islam Makhachev.